situation, there will be nobody who can help you. It's up to you to find a solution. And you can find it only if you look inside yourself, if you analyze your way of singing. I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, there were moments where I was unhappy of many things, many choices, many, even relationships with conductors or directors, but nevertheless you must find a solution. Yes, you can go on. The only time, because I always avoided, for instance, bad situation like this, the only time I felt extremely bad and I will never forget who put me in this situation was 4 years ago in Paris when I was in a Macbeth with a terrible director and even worse conductor, and I couldn't find a solution. The solution was only one: to live and to lose 11 performances well paid. When you have signed this contract, maybe 3 or 4 years before, and therefore if you go home you don't have any chance to recuperate anything. And that time I stayed for the money. And I felt for the first time lost in my life as a prostitute. Because I stayed for that. And I will never forgive who put me in that situation. I repeat, normally you can have this situation, you have bad relationship with some professionals, or situations, but you need to find the solution inside or yourself, or in dealing in a proper diplomatic way with the others. But try really to avoid to do something without willing it. It's not easy, but now I know it, of course. It's stupid and silly that it happened at this stage of my career, because if it would have happened when I was 25, okay, you are young, you have all the excuses in the world, but not now. But because I trusted the artistic director of this house, with whom I did many beautiful things, and in this situation he betrayed me somehow.
I was wondering, with this magnificent career, how you balanced the professional world with your personal life.
Well, what?
Like, how did you balance your professional life and your personal life? Like, how did you?
Well, my professional life is absolutely important, it's fundamental, it is my life. It is my life because basically I don't do anything else. Since many years I barely had time for holidays or for myself, and it was also a problem to have a family because, I mean, it wasn't easy for my wife or for my son to be in this situation, but we grew up with this state of things, and so probably we don't know about any other kind of life. My son is a grown-up man and he has a beautiful life, so we didn't do that bad after all. And my wife is here enjoying San Francisco, so we found our way to do that. I always tried to keep the two things extremely separated. I love my privacy, and I never ever wanted to sacrifice it for this beautiful profession. It wasn't probably easy, but it's with the character that I had, it wasn't difficult. Because in my region where I was born, it's called Friuli, Venezia Giulia, the very north and eastern part of Italy. Everybody is very few words, big workers, when the work wasn't in the region, they went around the world and they came back to build their houses there, but the tough workers, and I repeat, very, very few words, and which is a great self-defense, because when you don't want to deal with things, you just and nobody will listen.
Yeah.
So that's the way I did.
What's it like for you now, 38 years after starting your career, working with people who are in the place that you were 38 years ago, emerging professionals, young artists, and such?
Well, it's beautiful. It can be beautiful very often. Can be beautiful very often. I repeat, I feel sorry for you all because of the great advantages that I had because there were a certain number of people that unfortunately don't exist anymore. But for instance, a very simple case. In this production of Attila, I have heard for the first time a young baritone coming from Hawaii, Queen Kelsey. And let's say that since many years, since Chile passed away, since Bruzon became older, we are missing the real Verdi voices in baritone. More or less in every direction, but in baritone it's a zero. And finally, I heard the vocality of a young man then can really develop beautifully. It's already beautiful, and it can develop sensationally well in that direction. And the first day of rehearsal, we had a music rehearsal, so I heard him the very first day. And the same night, I wrote to the Vienna Opera and to Covent Garden in London, with whom I have a very good relation, talking about this guy, and they took him immediately. Because it's something wonderful. It was so beautiful, finally, to arrive in a place and to listen to a beautiful color of baritone voice, with a beautiful technique, with a very safe technique. But then they exist. They exist. I mean, they are not lost. There is hope. So you must give us hope.
Do you feel like maybe that's because today's singers, do you think that they're being pushed too hard, or they're singing too big, or, I mean, what is, or do you think that
I think
they
it's a
don't
combination
yeah?
of factors. When I was mentioning before, related to my career, that at the very beginning you didn't have any other chance to do your profession rather than in the small roles. And it was so important because it gave you really the possibility to grow up and to get to the important roles when you were a bit more ready. It's true that nowadays, again, for the incompetence of most of the artistic directors, because politics basically entered in opera theaters, and you become an artistic director without having the substance to be one. And today, you have a beautiful voice of baritone, both you throw in big stages with big roles, with a very important thing that wasn't present 30 or more years ago, with an orchestra pitch which is much higher than before. It's a big problem. I think that most of the reasons why beautiful young voices do not develop in the years, it's not just because of the choice of the repertoire, which is important, but because of this damned orchestra pitch. The orchestras around the world, because their sound is cannot just turn our ears and do the same without chords. Therefore, we are constantly compelled to sing tired, big, demanding roles with a tessitura that wasn't the tessitura in which they were written by the composer at the time. And this is probably a good, it has a good responsibility in killing young voices. But what can we do against that? I don't know, it's hard. Conductors today are scared of orchestras. They are very scared to be against them, because if they are going against you, they will cut your possibility to perform in certain theaters. Therefore, they finish the rehearsal in advance so that orchestras are happy. They will allow them to do everything. They will allow the orchestras in the past were much deeper in the orchestra pit, and gradually they come up. And gradually the wall of sound that we have to go through is bigger and bigger and bigger. And nobody thinks about this. So singers, what possibility do they have? To push. And pushing is never good. Pushing will gradually tire you and gradually kill you. So a combination of many factors, but these are, I think that the orchestra pitch of today is the greatest responsible for young voices to disappear. Or you're built by nature like a bull.
That's what I was going to ask you about. Do you think?
Pardon?
I was going to ask you about that, about the encouragement or discouragement of various body types, because I've seen Quinn, and his body is somewhat like Leonard Warren in a sense, who was a very important Verdi baritone.
I heard him now for the first time, and what I loved was the color. The color of the Verdi baritone is missing since years and years. I mean, Brujon, who is 76, and I mean, he cannot be what he used to be, and he's gradually going. Cappuccini, unfortunately, died before, and then many other baritons, very good baritons, are, I would call them hybrids. They are in between. They are baritonori, without the color of, I mean, we arrived to the point to have a tenor singing Boccanegra. I did 4 of them. I respect the artist. I respect the way he performed the character.